Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. This is episode number 474. Today, I'm talking about analysis paralysis. Now let's dive in. Hey, I'm Taylor Bradford, host of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. I help small business owners turn their purpose into a paycheck, and it starts with visibility. In the online world, visibility equates to sales. So if you're dreaming of being the next $1 million entrepreneur, you've come to the right place because weekly I share visibility tips, brand advice, and business resources. So grab a notebook, your favorite pen, and a beverage, and let's do the work. Hey, welcome to episode 474. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. And today we are talking about analysis paralysis. I feel like I've talked about this in the past, but this can really hang you up in creating visibility for yourself if you are stuck in a paralysis mode with your business. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this week's episode, let's find out what's been going on in the land of social media. Social media headline number 1, Facebook is testing a clear mode for uncluttered Reels viewing. Clear mode would enable you to remove all the description text and the UI buttons from the viewing experience. Social media headline number 2, TikTok is updating the option to download clips without their watermark, an easier way to repurpose your TikTok clips. Social media headline number 3, Instagram chief reiterates that sends are now a key focus. So that should be in your playbook with Instagram to get your followers to send your posts, your reels, your carousels to somebody or in a DM. Social media headline number 4, X is considering downvotes for post replies. Downvotes could help to better rank post replies in threads that go viral, especially. And that wraps up this week's social media headlines. Okay, I know I said I was about to get into the nuts and bolts of this week's episode, which is all about analysis paralysis. But before we get into that, this is something that, so I went to Colorado. I pre-recorded the 9th anniversary episode, which was last week, episode 473. It's a fantastic conversation with a really good friend of mine, Angie Jacobson. If you haven't listened to that episode, I encourage you to do that. And since recording that episode, I have made another change. And I feel like if you've been following me on my social experiment, you're going to be like, you've made all of these changes. Well, it's still been an experiment. And I finally was like, you know what? What I've done to Digitally Tailored over on the second Instagram that I was running, and I started it as a faceless account, and then I became face forward, and then I started linking myself back to Boss Girl Creative and who I actually was, and I made a mistake. I made a mistake with this account, with Digitally Tailored, and I didn't necessarily do a follow train because I don't believe in those, but I did an engagement kind of thing. So I said, hey, I would love engagement for this particular reel. If you engage back with me, I will go engage with something for you, whether it's a reel or a post or stories or whatever. And that particular moment froze that Instagram. I am 100%, I feel like it froze it. And I could not get forward momentum to save my life. And what is frustrating about making such a crazy mistake like that is that if you were a business owner, if I was actually a business owner with a brand new account, I'd already picked out the name, I'd already vetted everything all over the place, I already had the domain name, I had done all of the homework before I ever started with it. Talk about defeating had that really been my business, my brand. And I can only imagine you doing something like that, not you, but like the proverbial you. I can only imagine someone else stepping in as a brand new entrepreneur and realizing that they're stuck and having somebody say, just start over. Like that was active feedback from a lot of the people in the MRR world and also in the MMO niche, make money online niche. And it was very like apparent from the get-go of that experiment that that was what people were telling people to do. Like if you get stuck, start over, pick a new name, trash that account. And holy cow, if you were actually doing this as business, like you literally had your own services or your own products to sell, what a kick in the pants that is. And so before I recorded and last week's episode aired, there's been a couple of weeks delay. And I have basically, I didn't trash Digitally Tailored, but I pivoted away because I was really tired of putting in so much effort and not getting a return on the effort. So what I did was that on that account, I said, hey, go follow me on Boss Girl Creative. So if you are not already following me on Boss Girl Creative on Instagram, I encourage you to do that because that is where the content creation is now happening. And right out of the gate, so Boss Girl Creative had about 800 followers at the time of when I stepped back over and started creating. And the reels that I have been producing on Boss Girl Creative are reaching non-followers, which is the goal of being on Instagram, is to get in front of non-followers. Your stories, your regular posts, your carousels, those are going to nurture your existing followers. But your Reels content, the goal should be to attract non-followers to get them to follow you. And so I am seeing growth by producing content on it was kind of dormant. Like I was trying to produce with the current assistant that I have. I was trying to produce one reel a week with audio or with an audio clip from that week's podcast episode and putting it out as a reel. And so we were kind of trying to do that, but it still wasn't a full focus. And now I'm producing content almost 7 days a week. On the weekend, sometimes it's a little harder, but I am for sure during the week producing 2 pieces of content a day on Wednesdays or Thursdays when we're working on adding in the clip from a recent podcast episode. Then it's 3 pieces of content in whatever day that might be. But I'm already seeing this particular account, Boss Girl Creative, being revived. And it's helpful because I was already, like, the people following that account are already like my target audience. So I wasn't trying to find new people, but there's leverage there so that the new content is finding new people. And I couldn't ask for better results from what I'm getting so far. And it's waking up the things that Instagram allows you to utilize. And so like it's waking up achievements through Instagram, which is great because then they start trying to help you out. And I don't feel stuck anymore, which is fantastic because for a while I was like, what is really going on? Like I'm producing so much content and over on Digitally Tailored, and it's like, all right, this is stupid. This is so stupid because of one mistake. And if you didn't know that was your mistake, oh my gosh, I feel like horrible for you if you didn't realize that was a mistake. I knew it was a mistake the moment I did it, and I was still experimenting because, that was the whole point of all of that for over 6 months. It was to see what you could do, what you couldn't do, what you could replicate, what you couldn't replicate. And now full circle, I'm back to Boss Girl Creative. And I do think it's important to note that you do have to be visible. You do have to produce the content if you're wanting to be visible and make money. You can't not be visible if you have a goal of making money, you have to be visible. So here we are. Now we're experimenting with Boss Girl Creative. I think everything we do day in and day out in your business, in our businesses, is an experiment, because what works for some doesn't work for everyone. If it were all easy, we'd all be doing it and all of that. So that's kind of what's been going on. It's so crazy that I'm back over on Boss Girl Creative. I didn't see that trajectory happening. I didn't see that pivot coming, especially when I started. And here we are. Now we're back, and it's so wild. It's so wild. So I'm producing right now 2 pieces on average a day, except sometimes the weekends kind of trip me up a little bit. But yes, it's just crazy. It's crazy how the world of social media works, especially Instagram, and all of the changes, especially like if you listen to this week's social media headlines, you heard me say that Instagram's chief dude has come back out and said, hey, you need shares. You need people to click that airplane icon. That is what is boosting things on Instagram right now, which just a few weeks ago, they were like, hey, we're going to focus on the small creators, and the small creators are going to finally have a chance in our algorithm. And it's like, can you just make up your mind? Like, we're all really trying hard to be visible in your platform. Yes, we understand we're renting space, which, by the way, speaking of renting space, I've also revived emails through Boss Girl Creative, and I would love for you to sign up. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/email. Get on the email list. You're going to hear from me more often, and you can actually say how often you want to hear from me. You want all of them? You want a few of them? You want just a monthly update? You just let me know, and I would love to communicate to you in that manner. And also, if you'd like my latest freebie, you can grab it, bossgirlcreative.com/9 tips. It's to help you be more visible. It's free, bossgirlcreative.com/9 tips. And that will actually get you into my email list, which would be so beneficial for me and for you to understand how to make yourself more visible with your brand and your business. It's just quick 9 tips, and I promise you're going to love it. So let's talk about analysis paralysis, the whole point of this episode, which I feel like a lot of times we can get hung up on. We can get hung up on like doing too much scrolling or too much comparison. And like, that is what can be a huge indicator of why you have no forward momentum. And I know right now, because of this social experiment, I have been making investments in things because of curiosity of what's out there. I just purchased some kind of AI, ChatGPT, make it sound like my voice. And I talked about that in last week's episode of learning that you can make ChatGPT sound like you when you ask it a question. And now I'm like, I really want to understand the ins and outs of that, because I do think that that's a very powerful way to increase your team by using AI. And so I'm looking forward to diving into what this girl has to offer. She said she sat down and produced 180 videos in an hour with the help of ChatGPT, and producing short form content, not YouTube videos or anything like that, but I'm sure that would help you create YouTube series. And so I'm really looking forward to diving into learning how to produce that kind of content in bulk because of how many reels I am creating. Now, I am using GIFs or memes as one of my pieces of reel content through Boss Girl Creative. I hope you'll go check it out. The one I did this morning is related to your to-do list, how often you think about your to-do list. It's kind of funny. And so I hope you'll go to Boss Girl Creative's Instagram and find that one. And just having fun, trying to find humor in some of the monotony. And so anyways, okay, the number one thing that can hold you back or can prevent you from moving forward, which is holding you back, is analysis paralysis. It's just being stuck because you're just in too deep to crawl back out and move forward. So let's talk about how do you like fix that? And what are the signs of you even being there outside of like overly scrolling, which is a sign of analysis paralysis, because you're just like looking for something to inspire you. And trust me, that happens to me. And I'll just be like, I need some inspiration. I need some inspiration. And if you listen to last week's episode, you heard me say, like, I get on the microphone to talk about things that I either witness, that I either experience, or that I learn. And when I'm not feeling something in those three things, if I don't witness something or observe something, if I don't learn something in my own business life, my business journey, or if I don't experience something. So when I am not having one of those things happen, then I am scrolling. I'm scrolling for inspiration. And sometimes I can get too deep in that scroll. And then I'm like, crap, I just lost sight of what I was even trying to do, So it even affects me. Like, it is something that is very easy to get stuck in. And so let's talk about like some of the signs of you potentially being in this state of having analysis paralysis, where you want to make a decision, but you don't make a decision. Like, that's one reason to be in analysis paralysis. Like, that is something that is a sign of you potentially being in analysis paralysis, where you just can't make a decision. And you want so desperately to make a decision, but you're not making a decision, which is holding you back. If you have difficulty going in for the long haul, like if it's a project that, might take 3 months to accomplish, like you can put yourself into analysis paralysis because of that mindset. And mindset is so much a part of being successful and having forward momentum. So if you just can't tackle the long game projects, that could be a sign of analysis paralysis. Information overload, like I just talked to you, like going through like a long scroll session, looking for inspiration, and just being overloaded with everything that you see, that it holds you back. And finally, multitasking can actually trigger analysis paralysis. How often are you actually completing the task that you're actually multitasking? When you're doing too much, you end up not completing things, which can lead to analysis paralysis. So those are the things, those are your signs, those are your warning bells of analysis paralysis. Now let's figure out, how do we overcome those things? How do we not get stuck? And one thing is to prioritize what is important for your day. So I encourage you to wake up and to, get your to-do list, get your journal, get your whatever thing out, and decide what are the top 3 things that are going to make today successful for me. I need to accomplish these top 3 things, and I am going to feel accomplished at the end of my day. If I accomplish anything else, it's totally cherry on top. But these 3 things I want to accomplish today to make today feel like a win. So prioritizing what's important in a day. Also, minimizing the number of decisions you actually have to make in a day will greatly increase your forward momentum. If you put too much on your plate where you have to stop and say yes and no and do this and do that, like I can tell you, having multiple assistants around me, orbiting around me on a daily basis, literally puts me into too many decisions mode. And I am solving, and especially having male sales team, an all male sales team for my roofing business. Y'all, it is like, I'm just like, these are man babies. These are man babies that I'm having to manage every day. It is so wild that they cannot make adult decisions on their own. It's bananas, absolutely bananas. But for me to get things accomplished, it's either early in the morning, which is not my forte, or it's in the evening time, when nobody is bothering me and I am not stuck in decision-making mode. Like, it's crazy how much I can accomplish in like a 3-hour window at the evening time because nobody's bothering me. Whereas I had 12 hours to give people my attention and to get things done. And I can't because I'm constantly making decisions for people. It's not really decisions for me. It's decisions for people. And so if you can minimize the number of decisions that you're having to make on a daily basis, you're going to have forward momentum and not get stuck in analysis paralysis. Also, removing distractions. Is your desk cluttered? You got too many notifications pinging. Like, removing distractions will help you stay out of analysis paralysis. Visualizing, like seeing what your top 3 things that you need to accomplish are, writing them down and seeing them every time you sit down at your desk or on your mirror or, on your desk monitor. Like, being able to actually see what's important for you to accomplish in a given day will help you accomplish those 3 things. So I think it's important to know that simplicity is how we stay out of analysis paralysis, keeping our day as simple as possible and just being able to almost just keep the stress out. Not making a bajillion decisions in our day, not having a cluttered desk. I think that is what triggers us into long scroll sessions and, having to make too many decisions and not wanting to tackle the long game projects because we just get overwhelmed and we get stuck in these, ruts where we feel like we're just on the hamster wheel and we don't know how to get out or how to get off or stop, So I want you to think about these things. First, are you experiencing analysis paralysis? Like, think about all of the things that I talked about that could be signs of analysis paralysis, and then think how you can stop those things. How can you be more simplistic in your day? How can you set yourself up for success in your day? That's what I want you to think about. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I'm so grateful to have you be a part of this journey. I cannot believe that I'm 9 years in. This is fantastic. Oh, by the way, I did buy a piece of land. We're buying a piece of land. Our offer was accepted. Now we're doing all the things. I finally will have a home. And I actually just realized I'm going to have a podcasting closet. I've been recording in this closet in my rental property since the start for 9 years. For 9 years, I've been recording in this closet. I'm going to have to make sure I have a closet to record in the new space. Oh my gosh, because we're building. We're going to build a barnuminium, which will be able to house our airplane, which will be fantastic. My husband will actually be able to land on our property and then have a place to store his airplane. And we're building a barnuminium, but I got to make sure I have a podcasting closet. Because I won't have access to this one once we move in and all of that. But that will be some time because, we just had our offer accepted yesterday. So anyways, thank you so much for being on this journey for me and for following me along my closet. And don't forget, I'd love to see you on my email list. Grab my new freebie. It's 9 tips to help you become more visible in your brand and business, because if you're not visible, you're not making money. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/9 tips. And that will get you into the list and you'll be hearing from me more frequently. And then also go follow me on Instagram if you're not already doing that. Boss Girl Creative over on Instagram. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Hey, real quick before I go, I wanted to pop back in and say again, thank you so much for listening to this latest episode of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. I would so love a favor from you right now. Would you please share this episode with a friend or share it to your social media and tag me at Boss Girl Creative? Oh my gosh, that would mean so much to me if you did that right now. Okay, I'll see you next week with a brand new episode.